Good afternoon, everybody. I will be supplying a link in the information box to a video recently done by Philo71. I am not making a video pertaining to the video that he made. I am simply offering it as a platform to view the discourse that I have currently had with another YouTube user who I perceive to be a fundamentalist. The point in question, as pertaining to the title of this video, is specifically dealing with Jesus. I had made a comment that in all of Jesus' years and supposed ministry on earth, what is most perplexing is that Jesus never left anything behind for later generations to view, enjoy, and or utilize. This answer has never been answered yet reasonably by Christians of any denomination. However, today I got a response that Jesus left the church. Now this is interesting. We all know that the New Testament scripture was written in Koine Greek. The Greek lexicon for church is ekklesia, and the majority of this word, ekklesia, in Greek, for the most part, is found in Acts, as well as the epistles of Paul. They're the epistles that are attributed to Paul. This is strictly a Pauline teaching regarding church. Well, Christians will then resort back to Matthew 16:18 and Matthew 18:17. Now, the fact here is that in Matthew 16:18, Jesus says, "I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." What is important to understand here is reading the passages prior to Matthew 16:18 and the passages following Matthew 16:18. Because the context in which it is being used, the church is a metaphor used by the writers to exemplify Jesus' kingdom in heaven. So when Jesus says, "I will build my church," and he's saying, "Upon this rock I will build my church," the rock is the establishment. The church is the kingdom in heaven. He's using ekklesia, the Greek lexicon, as a metaphor to explain to the reader that he's building a church, a kingdom in heaven. That is what he is talking about. The second passage found in Matthew 18:17, Jesus is speaking, and he says, "And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as a heathen man and a publican." Here, the Greek lexicon ekklesia is being used in a completely different context than that of Matthew 16:18. In Matthew 18:17, it is representing the assembly of Christians. These assemblies would meet in synagogues or outside in what was known as Christ's community back in the day. First century Christians did not go to church like modern Christians do today, putting their money into the collection basket and listening to a priest prophetize on the pulpit. That is not what Jesus left behind. The Greek lexicon is imperative to understanding, and it's used in numerous ways and in many, many different contexts. In 18:17, Matthew 18:17, all he's saying is, "Say it unto the assembly of the Christians," meaning a group of Christians. Say it unto them. But if he neglects to hear the church, meaning if he doesn't pay attention to the assembly of Christians, then he is a heathen. Well, in Acts, the book of Acts and Paul's epistles, church has taken on a completely different meaning. And it is the translators of the Bible, specifically the King James Bible, that transliterate the word ekklesia into meaning something completely different. See, what we go today to is a church. A church didn't exist when Jesus was ministering. All there was the temple, and there were synagogues. And there were communities of Christians that met outside and would preach the gospel and the epistles of Paul. Jesus would not step foot into a church today. He wouldn't do it because he never talked about it and he didn't believe in it. Please remember, specifically Christians, that Jesus was a Jew and he died a Jew. Okay? He didn't create a new religion. Christianity was absent from his mind. He never thought of it, he never spoke of it, he never breathed it, he never teached it. None of that ever took place. And Christians do not understand, the majority of Christians, I should say, do not understand the lexicons and how they're being used, which is imperative to understanding the book that you claim to read and live your life by. Yet you don't even understand the context of the lexicons that are being used. It just perplexes me, and it really does frustrate me a little bit. And within this context, when I argue the Scripture, when I try to point out what the lexicons actually mean, people resort to my comment on my channel where I explain what the 12-pointed sun represents. It's a emblem of, tolerance between faiths, cultures, governments of the world, that sort of thing. Not once will you hear me say that a Christian is not free to practice how he seems fit. I may not agree or practice in what he or she believes, but not once will you hear me say that you are not free to worship as you wish, regardless if it's Jesus, Muhammad, Yahweh, Buddha, Krishna, Isis, Osiris, whatever the case may be. You will never hear me say that you are not free to worship as you seem fit, and I would appreciate it, if these Christians would not take, again, my comment, my declaration statement off my YouTube channel, off my homepage, taking it out of context just like they do their own good book, and then try to make it mean something completely different than what I have intended it for. If you want to take a look at the conversation, by all means, go ahead. I'll leave a link. And I appreciate your time. It's just very, very frustrating when people do not understand, the lexicons that are present in their Bible. And even what's more frustrating is they don't understand the contexts that it arises in. They think it means the same thing all the way throughout the entire New Testament, and that's just not the case.